Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss hallucinogens and it has some history behind. It is used as perfect aphrodisiac or spiritual experience and has been used by different religious healers like shaman healers. They have been used these hallucinogens in their religious believing, and they're talking about the plants and they're talking about that plant have some spirit inside, and that terminology can be explained in terms of emanism. What is emanism? The belief that animal, plant, rock, steam, and so on, the correct, they have some characteristics, they have some spirit within that object. So for example, when someone eat that mushroom, then that spirit come inside to having the properties of causing the aphrodisiac activity or hallucinogen activity. So what is actually about? Obviously, we need to understand that the plants, the religious practitioners talk about this activity in terms of their spirit. But when we talk about the scientific evidence, when we see that the plant, they have bioactive compounds. We need to understand, like for example, the common example that everybody know, ginger or turmeric. So, for example, in lot of homes, turmeric has been used as wound healing agent, especially for athlete foot. So, what do you think that that turmeric having the spirit inside? No, the bioactive compound is inside that is responsible for that activity. So the religious practitioners explain that concept in terms of the spiritual experience, whereas when we talk about the scientific evidence, we're talking about the bioactive compounds that are present in the plants. So some of the plants like psilocybin mushrooms, they have been used in their religious belief, and they believe that eating them is bring them a good spirit insight. And if some of them want to taste these kind of uh, herbs, plants, or sometimes the drugs because they want to experience that thing. So the first thing you need to understand that there are two philosophies. One is the religious practitioners that are talking about the plants, mushrooms, or herbs that they have been used in religious believing in term of emanism, that the spirit is inside, and when you eat them, that spirit come inside you. So that is one opinion. The other, the scientific opinion, the modern world is talking about not in terms of spirit, they're talking about in terms of evidence. And the evidence is available in terms of the compounds, the chemistry, or the medicinal compounds, or the bioactive compound that are present inside that herb that is producing that effect. So these are two beliefs that actually this topic is talking about. I am going to share you one article that is very interesting, talking about spirituality, drugs, and tourism. This article has very interesting. I read in detail, and I will just go in briefly to about discuss. The title is that spirituality, drug, tourism, then tourist, shaman experience, and ayahuasca in Liquidos, Peru. So first of all, this topic is about the use of the ayahuasca, which is a combination of the herbs that has been used for getting the experience, especially for spirituality. And shamans are actually, they are the religious practitioners that use these uh, herbs, and they practice these herbs. So this paper is very interesting because in different part of the world, this is not common practice, this is very rare practice in some different parts of the world. So some people, especially like in, they mentioned the in Peru, or there are many parts like in Amazon in America, they that are practicing these herbs for spirituality, for cohesiveness, or for self identification. So this practice has been done in Peru, and they're talking about IOSA, which is the actually hallucinogenic beverage. They mention very clearly, if you read the abstract, this traditionally consumed for spiritual and health purposes. So this is talking about that the use of IOSA for hallucinogen purposes. Then they're talking about, in this article, they're talking about the combination of the herbs that has been used in making these beverages. And they're talking about very interesting fact that, and when you go in detail, that many people from different parts of the world come to these places to get experience these drugs and to get the spirituality experience. But the main thing is that it is illegal. We mentioned this, in despite often being illegal in Western countries, there is a growing recognition of psychedelics and associated with potential health, psychological, and spiritual benefits in non-Western societies. So, although it is banned and most in most part of the world, but people thought it having some beneficial effects in their experience. Let me discuss this thing as well, that whether we get some experience or benefit from them. And they have been explained. I'm going to explain you in briefly, not going to explain in detail. You can read this paper, very interesting. They're talking about a drug tourism and ayahuasca, which has been, I mentioned that now has been misused as well. They mentioned in this paper that because obviously the spiritual healers, they also need some money now. It is making the money rather than the experience or belief that people have. They mentioned that this research, where they perform their research, the location they mention. The main thing that I need to discuss about the conclusion and experience. First of all, this table is very important. Table one, they're talking about, they use 6 participants, and you can see different ages, there's different genders and different nationalities, and you can see the most important thing is that the previous experiences. So you can see most of them, majority of them have experienced more than one, like 3, 2, or 4, whereas the other 2 people also experienced one time, and this one participant that come the first time. And when we ask about the reason for experiencing them, everybody have their own experiences, and they mentioning about for stay healthy, for achieving the modern style, for safety of the body or spirit. And then 2 people are using for medicinal effects, to learn about the medicinal effects, to study the medicines, for self discovery, to purge myself or to remove myself from negative element 5. When we talk about these reasons, it is very interesting because they using these drugs to bring their mind and soul together to get cohesive, unified, because some people get their brain, they cannot focus on, the brain is scattered. And why this happens? Sometimes because of the emotional disturbance, because of the some trauma or accident that has happened in their life, that make their brain in such kind of way. So what actually these drugs are doing, these drugs are actually bringing the mind more cohesive, more integrated, to identify yourself. But the problem is that if you see that the users, they if someone use one time and he or she might feel useful from this activity, they come again, because you can see most of them come again. There is one participant that is come first time, but the other majority of them, they are coming back and again, because these psychedelic drugs have some addictive properties, and if you use one, then you may feel that you need to go again and again. So this is quite risky to adopt this thing for your positive health, or for the spirit, for reducing the negative elements. Because if you fall first time, you go first time, and then you experience and you get benefit, then this article also suggests that later on maybe you fall on other rape drugs, other drugs that is easily available, or that can be used easily, because you have experience, because these are not commonly practicing everywhere, these are very far from the land, and it is not easy to access these places. So if you have far experience, you like it, you want to go again and again to explore yourself. And the problem is that having addictive properties, it needs a lot of money, then you need to spend your time, then you have some addictive properties, then maybe under the normal life how you survive. So this tendency may lead to the use of illegal drugs. That is very important. So I will never recommend these activities, because for exploring yourself, for your self exploring, there are other healthy activities as well. Like one of the example is yoga. A lot of people doing yoga are just close to the nature, that helps you to explore yourself. It's just like the vibes or feelings, to explore yourself, rather than to eat these herbs and then explore yourself. Because again, although this technique is very fast, because you go to the place, you go to the religious activity, and then if you want to experience, you may get the experience. But again, it is very dangerous, especially in terms of 2 contexts. One context is the scientific addiction, or in other context in terms of your scientific on, not scientific, you can say, on your beliefs, on your religious beliefs. So it may produce an impact on you. So this is not my opinion, is that this is not a positive or healthy way, but everybody have their own opinion. So they are also talking about the tourist encounter spirituality, and they're talking about the journey that they experience. You can read this article in detail, and very, I don't have time to explain this article, but The most of them, they're talking about they want to heal themselves, and they discuss about different paragraphs and talking about what the experience they get from these shaman practitioners and then the use of ayahuasca. So they're talking about they want to get healed from the stress or anxiety. Some of them want to just experience and some of them just want to enjoy, or just they want to know what is this. But because obviously there are many people in different part that are curious about these kind of activities or drugs, so they are discussing in that context. And we they mentioning in the negative consequence of tourism, they're talking about it is quite negative now. And this is now business. They mention very clearly it's now a business. So you can see that now people are making money because some of people that maybe get benefit from them. I'm not talking that this will not get benefit, but obviously if there is benefit from them, they have also negative impact of them in your body as well, because the trip was usually a 1 week time, and they usually give you initially with a small dose of these hallucinogens, and then they increase with the dose. I will show you another video that I found very excellent regarding this topic, but I will not show you completely, but I will show you in cuts and parts the points that I want to focus on. So the point thing is that although it is some people get benefit, but we have the risk, people have the risk to fall in addiction and dependence, number one. Number two, it consumes a lot of money, or you need to go to certain place to experience that. Number three, if you just make or you just use herbs casually, not knowing the information about them, then it is dangerous. Like some people use different herbs, but again people don't have experience for that, and they're using by themselves self, so they don't know how much content they need to use and how much the effect they required. So it's self treatment or self medication or exploring yourself by using self illegal drugs is not a good practice. So these all things, even if for example you follow the shaman practitioners about practicing this, it is still having a risk, because you may fall in addiction, because you when you go back to your home, the environment maybe is not positive around you. This is another thing. So the main thing is that try to bring positivity in your environment, in your life, with the positive things, with healthy activities, rather than to use these drugs. I will discuss them, because at the end, we have to understand that our brain is very complex, and the complex thinking make your body or soul is not in same position, and that's why you get distracted a lot of time. So that's why when for example you are the students, you need to focus on your studies, you need to have cohesiveness in your brain and soul too, so that you focus on your work. So there are many other ways that can bring your body and soul in one place, and you work more positively on your work and your task, rather than to use the drugs, because drugs are these hallucinogens. They are acting in your body, and they are working in terms of the chemistry inside your brain. They are changing the actually biochemistry of your brain, and that change actually is bring you the things that you need to. So that is why it is not my suggestion. So you can read this paper in detail, quite interesting paper to discuss.
Our sense of self or ego. We've seen in other studies that during a psychedelic experience, that network is dramatically compromised. It shows a kind of disintegration, and actually that process relates quite strongly to people's ego dissolution. And yet after the experience, the network comes back as a kind of reset or a kind of rebooting of the network. And what we found in your brain after ayahuasca, as predicted, was that your brain reset. The network became more cohesive, more integrated, more strongly connected within itself.
So what are hallucinogens? These are psychoactive agents which can cause hallucination, perceptual anomalies, and other subjective change in thoughts, emotions, and consciousness. And the drug that has been used in hallucinogens are LSD, phencyclidine or magic mushroom, which is known as psilocybin, that has been used in religious purposes as well. So when we discuss about perception anomalies, maybe you see this example that the objects that you are seeing in your eyes, and actually when we discuss about the hallucinogens, what they are talking about, what they are doing in your brain, what is going on is the experience, the feeling of uh, detailed information that you can imagine. And sometimes these hallucinogens actually used by these artists, they thought to be that it bring the creativity, but we will discuss in next topic that whether it can bring the creativity or not. But again, these hallucinogens, what they are actually producing, they are changing the perception of the surrounding. Like the environment is changing, the object is moving, the colors, the bright and dark colors has been appearing in your thoughts or in your eyes. And actually these all can be explained in terms of the effect of these drugs that has been going on in your brain, that producing these perceptual anomalies, like the objects around you, how you feel. Or like this picture, if you take a look of, there is two pictures, whether you can see this picture with two faces or you can see as one chess piece. So this picture, if we see that either it is look like two faces or in other context it look like one chess piece. So that's how this hallucinogens, it may produce perception anomalies. We will discuss little bit in detail later on, and I'm going to share you two videos for this topic to start with. That this topic is little bit interesting and lengthy topic, so I need to explain more in detail in different other videos. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Hope to see you again.